This story was submitted by Alex Woods. Before I start my tale of dread, I feel I should tell you a few things about me. At the tender age of 4, I began to attend both fencing classes and mixed weapons training. This resulted in me being quite confident when it came to defending myself, both with and without weapons. However, due to my looks, nothing major, just long hair, I became a target for bullies, who would often threaten me with physical violence. However, nothing happened, so I never needed to defend myself. Due to my father being a lawyer, I was well aware of the ins and outs of the UK self-defense laws. As you may have guessed, it's knowing these things that made my personality stand out as well. These sort of incidents made me very, very paranoid. I have a rather large collection of knives and swords in my home. One of my favorite knives is an Aboriginal-style hunting knife with a decorated scabbard. I took to carrying this knife around with me at all times. Fast forward a few years, and I'm in my last year of high school. I still carry my hunting knife, even though life has been getting better for me over the past few years. I have a large group of friends. I'm now respected, and I get along with this cute girl in class, Ruby. I first noticed this guy one day when I was walking home. It was late, about an hour and a half after school had closed for the day. Ruby and I had stayed behind in order to complete a French assignment. I have always had good instincts. I find that I am able to sense things when they are just not right. My instincts have saved me from quite a few unfortunate events. So when I began to get this funny feeling in my gut, I listened. I turned around and saw a man, about 6'4", dressed all in black, which, while it would have been noticeable in the middle of summer, this was winter, and it gets dark by 4 p.m. The time was now about 5:30 p.m., so visibility was incredibly poor. So in order for me to be able to see him, in as much detail as I did, he had to be quite close. Instantly upon seeing the man, my instincts were screaming how wrong this situation was. I quickened my pace, forcing Ruby to keep up with me. I ignored her protests until we made it into the village. To give you a brief idea, the village is really the center of a small village in Rainhill that we live in. It contains a pub called the Vic and a small co-op. When we reached the general safety of the village, we turned left. And although this is normally the point when I stop walking with Ruby and head home, I opted to walk her to her house, in light of what I had saw. After walking her home, and seeing no more of the man, I assumed it was just my overactive imagination, turning a perfectly innocent man into some sort of creepy killer, stalker guy. From Ruby's house, the quickest route back to my house is to walk into the co-op car park and climb through a gap in the fence onto a dimly lit street, which then after a 5-minute walk, backed onto a field, which in turn backed onto my back garden. After making my way through the fence and onto this street, I once again had a funny feeling in the pit of my stomach. Whereas the feeling I had before was more of one of unease, the one I felt now was a feeling of pure dread. I looked to my right and noticed that hidden in the bushes was the guy from before. I wasn't sure if he had noticed I had noticed him, so I did the stupid thing. I approached him. As I drew near, he stood up. Now I'm a tall guy. I only weigh in at about 9.5 stones. However, I have a BMI of 72% muscle, so I'm not exactly a pushover. But this man dwarfed me in every possible way. It was at this point I ran. However, I didn't run home. I didn't want to lead him back to my house. Instead, I ran onto the field. Now looking back, I realize how stupid that was, but I guess hindsight is 20/20. He followed me out there, and eventually I realized that he was going to catch me, so I decided to act instead of reacting. I reached behind me and pulled my hunting knife out of its scabbard. The rasping noise the blade made as it came out caused my would-be assailant to stop dead in his tracks. If you have never seen an Aboriginal hunting knife, both sides of the blade are live, and the septime of the knife is serrated in such a way that it causes maximum damage when it is coming out of the wound. I'm not sure if I painted a picture of the knife well, but it's very intimidating. I have pulled the knife on people before, but not often, and have never had to use it on another person. Usually, the very look of it causes the attacker to rethink, which is thankfully what happened in this case. Whatever the guy's intentions, he quickly changed his mind, turned around, and walked away. I was frozen, the rush of adrenaline gone, and the realization of what happened hit me. I must have stood there for about 5 minutes after he walked away. I would love to finish my recollection by saying I saw him again, or he stalked me on social media, but he didn't. I never saw him again, and quite frankly, I'm very happy about that. 6 months later, me and Ruby are now together, and I still carry my knife, but now I drive a yellow Suzuki. This next story was submitted by Crush a Bit, Lil Bit, Roll It Up. One early Friday morning, at about 3 a.m., I decided to walk to the 7-Eleven, which is only a 5-minute walk away from my house. I locked my door and took my extra keys and started walking. It was a cold night, so I tried to rush a little bit so I could get into the warmth of the 7-Eleven. About halfway there, I felt like somebody was watching me, but luckily, I made it to the 7-Eleven with no troubles. So I go in and see the normal sweaty old man at the cash register, as always. I grab my drink and chips and check out and then leave. As I start heading back, I notice about 2 houses away from my home, there's a man laying down on the sidewalk. I wonder if he's hurt, so I go up and I ask him, hello? Sir, are you okay? He then raises his head and starts laughing. And not your normal laugh. He had a death-curdling laugh, like he was crazy. I tried to walk around him, but as I walked next to him, he grabbed my leg. Then I screamed and stomped on his arm. I started running down the street to my house, and I saw a glimpse of him standing up. I finally get to my front door and get inside and lock it. As I locked the door, I felt sort of safe, so I laid my chips and drink on the table, till I heard a knock on the door. I got a bone-chilling feeling. Is it him? I think to myself. I turn off the lights and slowly walk up to the door and see a man through the glass. The man is tall, skinny, and pale. He then starts banging hard on the door and yells, "I know you're in there!" The hairs on the back of my neck stick up. I think to myself, maybe if I keep quiet, he will go away. 1 minute later, the knocking stops, and I think maybe he's gone. Then, before I get up, I hear the sound of a knife cutting into the door. I pull out my cell phone and call the police. Unfortunately, by the time the police showed up, he was already long gone. I head to my door, and I can see where he cut into it, and he had cut a message. Never walk alone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you didn't hear your submission in here, don't worry. I still have hundreds of submissions I'm going through. These are just some of the oldest ones that I've received. I'm trying to work my way from back to front, so that way it's fair for everyone. I hope you enjoyed this special weekend upload. As most of you know, I don't upload on the weekends, but I did miss a couple days this week, so this is just a small way of saying thank you for being patient. I hope you all have a fun and safe rest of your weekend. And just remember to be courteous in the comments. These are people's personal stories that they were nice enough to share with us. I know you wouldn't want anyone talking down to you, so please give them the same respect. I'll see you guys Monday for another video. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true.